Hey, what's up everyone? Danny Lightning here with another CSR2 video, and today we're going to talk about Tempest 3 Tier 5. And this is one of the hardest, yet the easiest. Why is it the hardest? Because, well, you got to get a car that's fast enough. Which means you got to get lots of stage 6 parts and lots of fusions put into a Tier 5 car, and you need to make it fast enough. Why is it easy? Because there's something like 240 tier 5 cars in this game. I would say the majority of those cars is able to beat Tempest 3 tier 5 as long as you can get enough parts for those cars. All right, there are some that can't beat it, but most of them can. All right, the car I recommend using, all right, I'm going to tell you about the car I recommend using and I'm going to tell you why. Alright, so the Lamborghini Huracan Coupe with 3 stars. This is an excellent car to use for Tempest 3. Now, the only thing is this car is going to need to be almost completely maxed out. And I'm pretty sure you're going to need the one with 3 stars. I don't know if the one you buy from the dealership without any stars gives you enough speed to do it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that, but I know the one with 3 stars works for sure. And the reason I suggest using this particular car is you can buy and strip Lamborghini Huracans from the dealership, right? Just go to where it says buy cars, go into Lamborghini, and you can just start buying and stripping these. Now, it is going to take you a lot. You're going to have to buy and strip a lot of these to get all of the stage 6 parts and all of the fusion parts. I can't talk today. I keep saying words wrong. But anyways, eventually, after you strip enough of these, you're going to have this car maxed out or really, really close to it. And this car just breezed through it like it was nothing. Alright? Most cars, you're going to have a really, really hard time, especially if you're a free-to-play player, getting the fusions and the stage 6 parts for. Most brands, you can't just go into the dealership and buy and strip cars to get parts. Well, that's why for the Tempest races, I always try and recommend cars which you can just get in the dealership. Now, I do recommend waiting till you get that car with the stars. Alright? The one with the stars holds more fusion parts, so it's always going to be a little bit faster. So the slower version of this with no stars, like I said, I'm not sure if that works. I've been trying to find that out for a couple years now. No one has that information. And somewhere online though, once you get one of these with 3 stars and you've bought and stripped enough of these and you've got this car almost maxed, like I said, it'll pretty much breeze through Tempest 3 Tier 5. Now, somewhere out there is a guide. What really sucks about the Tempest races is like the first 10 or 15 races or something have a performance points limit, meaning you've got to refit parts on the car in order to meet the performance point limit. And then you're going to have speed traps. I'll tell you about the fastest speed trap and the fastest sprint race. I'll tell you about those at the end of the video. But so basically, you're going to have to refit parts on the car. And then once you get to the sprint race or the speed traps, you're going to have to retune the car to beat the speed trap. And it's hard to figure out which parts to fit. Somewhere out there online, I can't find it. But I know it was on Google Docs or Google Sheets or something like that. But there was a guide for the Huracan which told you exactly which parts to fit and how to tune it for each set of races according to the performance point limits. So maybe the first 10 or 15 races has one performance point limit. All right. Then the next 10 or 15 you can add some more parts. Then the next 10 or 15 you can add some more parts. And finally you get all of the stage 6 parts on the car for the last, I don't know, 10 races or 20 races or whatever it is. I can't remember exactly, it was so long ago. All right, but okay, so if you don't want to wait, if you have some other tier 5 cars, how do you know if your tier 5 car is going to be fast enough? Alright, so you're going to need a tier 5 car which runs faster than a 9.0 in the half mile. You're going to have a speed trap of 285 miles per hour. Right, so you got to make sure whatever car you're using, all right, when it's on its stage 5 and stage 6 parts, there's a lot of tier 5 cars that can do this easily without being maxed out. But if you're new to the game, you're probably not going to have one with enough parts to make that. All right, and then there's also the sprint race. That's a 0 to 100 race. All right, and I'm pretty sure the last sprint race you have to do 0 to 100 faster than 2.4 seconds. All right, that's what I got written down there. So if your tier 5 car can do those 3 things, it should be fast enough to beat John Harkness, all right, and get that really awesome Sesto Elemento, which is a great live racing car. You know, that's one of the boss cars you don't want to miss out on. Some of the boss cars are pretty lousy. You're probably, you know, there's a lot of them aren't even worth upgrading, but the Sesto Elemento, one that is definitely worth upgrading. So be patient, all right? Take your time. I mean, there's so many cars in the game that can beat this. I can't list all of these off. It would take, the video would be like an hour long or something, which I really want to avoid that. So I'll put that speed trap information and all that junk down in this video's description. All right. So yeah, you might want to Google search for Hurricane Coupe Tempest guide. Maybe you'll be able to find it out there. That guide was extremely helpful. I'm pretty sure I used it for this one. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I just remember it wasn't easy to figure out which parts to fit and how to tune it for some of the races when you had to refit the parts for the lower performance points. All right, if you don't know what performance points are, see how it says 713 up here. All right, those are my performance points. And as you refit to like stage 2, those points will go down. If you refit up to stage 5, those points will go back up. So it sucks having to refit parts and then retune your car. But I do remember just having to refit, and then I would sit there and play with my tuning and do test runs. Play with my tuning and do test runs. Play with my tuning and do test runs. Knowing that the speed traps, that doesn't matter. That's never mind. The sprint races, all right? Knowing that the sprint races is actually a quarter mile. So you want to tune, when you're doing the sprint races, you may want to make sure you tune your top speed and your quarter mile speed for the fastest time, because all sprint races are a quarter mile. Knowing that makes beating those so much easier. So basically you just have to fit the parts and then tune and test run. And then if you don't hit the time needed for that race, all right, you can go back to the test runs, retune the car. You know, just it's a pain. It's a pain, all right? But the Hurricane, if you get this thing maxed out, it's not that hard. But like I said, most of these cars in this game, you're not going to have enough stage 6 parts for or fusions for. So way down the line in this game, okay? It really took me almost a year to beat Tempest 3. Tempest 1 and Tempest 2, I got through those really quickly. But Tempest 3, I had to wait a really, really long time because I needed one car fast enough to do the elite license, and I needed one fast enough to beat the boss. Now, there is another car which you can get from the dealership that you can buy and strip, is the Ferrari F12. Man, the F12 will barely squeak by. It can beat, okay, if you have the F12 with 3 stars, the one without stars definitely cannot do this. The one with 3 stars, all right, it can just barely squeak by. And I mean, you have to pretty much get a perfect run to beat that last boss. So I don't recommend using the F12. All right, I actually used the F12 for Tempest 1 and Tempest 2, but when it came to Tempest 3, it was just cutting it too close when it's maxed out. It wasn't worth trying to use that car to get it done fast and risk missing out on the Sesto Elemento. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense. You can probably do it, but man, you're gonna, if you make the smallest mistake, alright, if you make the smallest mistake, you are gonna lose that boss car. So I do not recommend the Ferrari F12 on Tempest 3 Tier 5. Tempest 1 and 2 Tier 5, sure. The F12 or the Hurricane without stars works great. But I suggest waiting until you actually get one of these with stars before you start upgrading them. Everybody should have the Hurricane and everybody should have an F12, but wait till you get the ones with stars, okay? Trust me on this, because it sucks putting all your parts into one car and having to strip everything off to spend your gold to put it back on the other one. So, alright, just wait till you get the 3-star versions of these before you start upgrading. That's my opinion. Even if it takes a really long time, you don't need to rush through Tempest. You don't need to get this done anytime soon. You just need to be able to beat it eventually. Anyways, that's pretty much my guide for, alright, Tempest 3 Tier 4. Definitely get the Hurricane with 3 stars, and you should be able to breeze by it once you get enough parts in this car. Alright, see you guys.